James Jones, the one and only. Not James. Damn, there's also James Earl Jones. Why should people listen to this episode of Pod Friends featuring you?
You should listen to this episode of Pod Friends featuring myself because one, I'm funny. Two, I'm inspirational. So no, like literally, I just think you should listen to this episode because we have a really good time. You get to learn a little bit more about me. You get to learn a little bit more about Matt, and it's just a good. I had a great time recording it, and I really think you're going to enjoy it. And you probably can see why they voted me off of Survivor after listening to this episode, just raising my threat level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod Friends. My name is Matt Scott. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by the one and only James Jones. But I have a special request for you before we get started on today's episode. In a few weeks, it'll be the season finale of Pod Friends. I know it happened so soon, but I need your help getting someone very special on the podcast for that finale. And that person is you. I want to get you as part of the season finale of Pod Friends, a voicemail call-in type of show where I could hear from each and every one of you who are tuning in and listening. That's always low-key one of my favorite parts of the season is when I get voicemails from you. And if you're listening to my voice right now, I would love if you drop a voicemail up to 90 seconds over at speakpipe.com/podfriends. The link is in the description here. Again, it's speakpipe.com/podfriends. I love hearing from all of you. I love your stories of what Pod Friends means to you, whether more broadly or specific episodes. I love your reflections on why you love this community, especially as we wrap up this season, and especially in a time when community, arguably is more important than ever. And so I'd love to hear from you with your reflections, your thoughts, speakpipe.com/podfriends. And you can be part of the Pod Friends season finale. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. But this week's episode is with James Jones, and James, so fascinating, such a fascinating conversation. And we went in so many places I expected. So a little bit of talk of Survivor, a little bit of talk of the day that I met James when he was fresh off of going to Survivor and pretended that he'd never heard of the show or never watched it. That was a really fun one, and you'll get to hear us go back and forth on that. You hear a little bit of James talking about his controversial hot takes, his role as the Godfather of Survivor 43, but even more, so much that's so inspirational about his story that even I didn't know. Going down to the fact that he worked in maternity care and maternity disparities, infant health, and just this really important world where not a lot of people like him are represented, which is something I really relate to. I also relate to James on the fact that in 2016, his mother was sick with a cancer diagnosis, and that drove him into hosting events and bringing communities together. And similarly, my dad being sick and his passing led me to interviewing people and diving more into that world. And so it was really powerful to bond over James on that and learn so much more about him, his experiences with ADHD, with anxiety, his role as a connector. And there's a very special cameo in this episode from, well, there's a cameo video in this episode by, in air quotes, Bryce Isaiah. You'll see what I mean by that. And actually, an in-person cameo from Bryce. So not only do you get James, you get Bryce, and just a really special time here on Pod Friends this week. Without further ado, let me introduce James Jones. Making his way to the podcast, hailing from the city of brotherly love of Philadelphia. You know him from Survivor 43, but he is a storyteller, a vibe curator, an event planner, a cook, and a man with many theories, and a friend to you and me, who you'll often see at Bryce and When Present or RHAP Live. Please welcome the confident, casual, self-aware James Jones. I never fully know where I'm gonna start out. I never fully know where we're gonna go, where we're gonna end. But I'll just bring it up because it's on my heart. I have to just say it. I mean, this happened because when I saw you about a month ago in DC, you came up to me and were like, when am I coming on pod? Look, I'm going to mess up my voice with my James Jones impression. But you were like, when am I coming on Pod Friends? And without a beat, I said, what, you want to come on Pod Friends? Let's do it. Let's make it happen. So you're here.
Hey, I'm excited, so I've like slowed down on like the podcast from we can get into that whenever, but because like for me, I don't really like kind of like criticizing like current like players in the game. Because I above everybody knows like you're seeing such a sliver. So like when people are having their takes, I get their takes, but then my perspective is completely different, which is like I know what the editors are doing out there. So it's all fun and games. So I'm excited though. I'm excited.
I mean, what would you say, just on that note, what would you say has been like your most controversial hot take to date? Because you are like a big on the Twitter fingers. I'll see it and I'll look at what you post and I'll just step back and say, God bless James Jones. I hope that he survives this one. But what would you say is like your most controversial, heated thing?
I feel
your
like
hot takes.
I don't think much. I feel like the one that everybody, at least recently, was like Genevieve, and how Genevieve, I thought her getting rid of Saul was a solid move. But I also realize I look at the game from a kind of old school point of view, meaning like I watch every season or a lot of them as they came out, and I just myself am more of a once someone says your name, you kind of got to get them out of here. Like, I feel like there's this new gamified version of Survivor where everybody is like trying to like manicure this perfect way to the end and have no one sitting next to them that actually played the game. And that just doesn't really work. I feel like everybody has tried that in the new era and it doesn't work that way. Like it like the best way, is my opinion, is go with your peoples and may the best person win. Like I can't guarantee a win, but you can guarantee you got 3 people to rock out with. But that's just, I got other theories, but I'll be quiet with those.
What? No, I feel like look, I feel like you're being shy because. And literally, I'm like, I open my phone because I'm like, let me go to X. Let me just see what James has been, what he tweeted, what got off likes. Because I feel like that you're not shy to share your opinion is like something I know about you, which is what I appreciate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not shy, but I'm also understanding of different perspectives of like kind of playing the game. For instance, I feel like Survivor in the fan base, which I wasn't really kind of understanding prior to going on the show. So I knew Bryce, I knew Wendell, but as far as the loud vocal, like Twitter, Reddit version of people that are into the show is actually a small percentage of the viewership and the people that actually watch the show. But when you're in it, it feels like, oh, these are everybody. And it's kind of just like, I feel like when you have the internet, there's a big like underdog push and they love the underdog. And I've just never been an underdog person. I like the people that go out on the island and just like they're not a fish out of water, or they're a fish out of water, but they adapt and they become a shark. Like that's what I like to see. And I feel like the coverage and people for the most part like rooting for the underdog, which is great, but I'm a root for the overdog where I'm like, hey, if you're out there, you're playing the game, like let's play the game. I'm not a big fan of like lowering your threat level and laying low, and like I feel like that's what everybody is doing because it's gotten so gamified, and it's kind of that's the whole thing where someone makes a move and oh they gotta go. Just make a better move, like beat them at the end. That's just but I realize that's my thinking, and that thinking doesn't win in Survivor. So if you play, don't do that. But that's the way I like to think about it and how I want to think about it.
Well, you know what? I appreciate it. I appreciate you. That's why we're here. But you know what? I have to say, I just have to bring up that, everything you're saying with all of the takes and opinions that you have right now, it's a lot different than what you were saying when I met you in July of 2022 at the Survivor Philly watch party. See, you're like, Matt's exposing something before your season aired. I met you and you pretended that you never watched Survivor.
I mean, so
you lied to my face. Tell me
it's not my fault.
I'm heated.
So all right,
okay.
So
break it down.
We're talking about Survivor Philly, or was it watch party?
It was Survivor Philly watch party.
Okay,
yeah.
So all right, set the scene. I'm already on the show.
Please.
Here's the deal, though. I'm paranoid. So for all those people that are out there, you want to be on the show, you go out the island, you film, and now you get back home and you have this crazy exciting news. You're trying to keep it in, and you really technically can't tell anybody. However, my name is already leaked. My picture is out there. James Jones or J Jones, i.e. whatever my Facebook name was. Like, so I go to the premiere of Survivor Philly. First off, check out Survivor Philly if you haven't. Great show. So I went to their watch party, and I'm there. And if you're playing Survivor in Philadelphia and you have a film crew and you did confessionals, you are Survivor fans. Like, you are a Survivor fan. So Bryce and Wendell, like, we're going to the Survivor watch party in the Boondocks. I said, cool, I'm game. So drove out there. So I'm with Bryce and Wendell. They two very well-known Survivor players in the community. And I'm just random James. So I, being my paranoid self that I am, also thought it'd be fun. And I honestly thought that in a room full of Survivor people, and I came with Bryce and Wendell, that they would know or have a semblance that I was on the most recent season that didn't air. But apparently no one did. So I just lied and went with it that I didn't know anything about Survivor. And I kind of rocked with that, talking to everybody at the party that I did not know anything about Survivor. And someone even pulled up the cast at some point.
Yeah.
Someone pulled up the cast at some point.
I remember that.
And scrolled down. I was like, well, I guess the gig is up. But it clearly was not. So yeah, I came into this meeting people a liar. Like, just I told people I didn't know anything about Survivor. I was skinny, fresh off of filming in Fiji.
Yeah, I was gonna say you looked really hungry. Now that I think back about it.
Yeah, I was a smaller person. Like, I didn't realize I was Survivor fat. I didn't realize I was a bigger person just in general until I went on Survivor. Because like my friend,
wow. What do you mean by that?
All right, so like from this a size standpoint, how like the average size person, like I realize I'm walking around at like 225, 225, and I'm 5'8", 5'9". So funny story, the producers all thought I was fat. Like literally, it was like if you say 5'8", 225, like I'm just pretty.
Yeah, then by the numbers, right? Yeah.
So when they see me, they're like, "What, James?" I'm like, yeah, like what's up? but I didn't realize like that I am a bigger person. Like I'm not 5'8", 150, 160. So like, but my friends are tall. They're big. So like, I'm just thinking I'm a regular size person, and literally I'm the second I probably weighed more than Ryan, but Ryan was bigger than me. Like biggest person that was out there from a just physical standpoint, which is something I didn't even think about, prepare for, which is kind of just perception and how people perceive you and how you communicate. It's certain things you sometimes don't know. You're still learning no matter how old you are.
Yeah, well, that's all well and good, but I will never forget the way that you were in there, and I was talking with you a lot that night, and
Yeah,
I
we
remember,
did.
like, you were talking about Survivor strategy, and you're like, "I've never seen the show," and I was like, "Well, James, if I were on Survivor, here's how I'd play it," and then you were so opinionated, like, you were like, and I was like, who the hell is this guy? Like, he doesn't even watch the show, and he has an opinion on how he play. So I'm looking at you like, what the hell? Like, he just what the and like we probably got like not like an actual argument, but like a mini like back and forth. I am sure
I remember that.
you
It
are
was
wrong
funny. We were
for
like in the
that.
kitchen
You're
somewhere.
wrong
It was
for that.
hilarious. You're like,
Oh,
yeah, I
we
would do this.
were.
I was like, you would. I'm like, nah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't think
Yeah,
about
no,
doing
you
this.
spoke about it in a way where I'm like, okay, some like I didn't know it in the moment, but it felt off. Maybe I think I picked up on it because I'm like, I didn't know you were on the show, but I knew that you had to have seen the show with the way you were talking about it. Little did I know you were like fresh off of it. So I will never forget that. And all of the times that I've seen you since where I'm just like, it just comes to mind. And so I can't look at you without thinking about that moment where I got lied to. Everybody, James Jones lied to me. What did I ever do to him? Come
I lied
on.
to everybody.
I don't want them to send you hate tweets for this though.
Oh no, please.
It was impressive.
No, like I'm a pretty good liar. Like, I mean, I don't know if the
You
show
are.
showed it, but I'm pretty astute at lying if I have to. It's kind of one of my better qualities.
Well, I will say you are known as the Godfather. So like because I want to get into we will get into for the most part like everything outside of Survivor, but like what would you say to start was like your Survivor reputation once everything aired, like once everyone watched you?
So I feel like I don't know what style of play I am, but what I will say is if you kind of talk to my castmates, they would say I was a very social player that
Mm,
scared the bejesus out of them, and I didn't know I
mm,
was scaring the bejesus out of them when we was playing.
yeah.
So, if you talk to anybody at the merge, ask them about my catchphrase, or Leslie, my catchphrase was "my peoples," and I didn't know that was like a thing. Like, but apparently in Survivor, you say "my peoples" is very threatening. when I thought I was
Okay.
just saying "my peoples" and I have peoples, but don't ever say that if you go on the show. But I would feel like they would say James is social. Um, that I had a lot of things going for me that the show may not have shown, and
Mm.
I feel like I'm like your Survivor's favorite Survivor that people don't really know about too much. So that's what I would say.
No, literally. I feel like you are our favorite survivor's favorite survivor. Like, look at that. Like, and I also feel like there's like one. Okay, I'll say from my perspective, beyond the show itself, I appreciate you because I feel like you are underratedly passionate about Survivor. Like, obviously, people see your takes on social media, but like even at Bryce and Wen and at all of these events, like like you're funny. You're funny. It's great to be there with you because you will just like I've had a number of times going to all these where I'll just like walk past you or you'll walk past me and be like, okay, here's what just happened. Like, let me break down the strategy. Let me break down how you should have done it. Like you are passionate about it, and yet I love that you also are old school when a lot of people with the general takes about the new school don't give that credit. Blah blah. This is not our time to talk about Survivor, though. I want to ask you. The reason I ask you that question is because I want to know outside of all of that, who is James Jones, aka JJ?
Yo, that is a very interesting question. It all happened on a little hill, probably in the outskirts of Philadelphia when I was a speck in my mom's ovary. That's when
Oh
when
yeah.
it starts. But no, who am I? I feel like I am a person that's a creative professional. So little known fact about me, or people don't know, I worked in healthcare for the last 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
So I started doing pharmaceutical sales when I was 19 for Pfizer. I had an internship for 6 months in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So I started doing that, and then I started working for HMOs. One thing I am passionate about is maternity care. I helped build one of the first maternity provider incentive programs in Pennsylvania. Trying to address
Wow.
disparities when it comes to birth weight, mother's health, infant mortality, mother mortality. So, like, I'm really passionate about healthcare, and in my job capacities, making sure that we're getting the resources in front of the providers and getting those resources from the providers to the patients. So, so that's the part about me that people probably did not know from a professional standpoint. From a non-professional standpoint, and this is probably professional, my mom, I started doing events and throwing parties, and like that's back in 2014. But I didn't really
Okay.
start taking it seriously until 2016 when my mom got her cancer diagnosis. It's like one of those weird
Mm.
things where I started this monthly happy hour called the Good Vibes Only Happy Hour. And you know, when you're doing
Okay.
something in your head, you don't necessarily understand the reason why you're doing it. So the reason why I know
Mhm.
I'm doing it now was because it was an excuse for me to see my friends every first Friday, drink, kick it, and have a blast, and not necessarily understand and deal with. It's like a nice way to deal with you have a lot of stress going on the other side of your life, which my mom having
Mhm.
cancer. So I really
Mhm.
kickstarted that at the same time. And you don't think about those things when you're going through it in the moment. So I did that. Then I ended up managing a club for like 8 months on Friday nights. Didn't sleep
Yeah.
for 8 months. It was kind of crazy, but I
Oh my
did
god.
that. So that was going pretty well as long as my regular job. And so I like to cook. So I guess if you just follow me on Twitter and you don't follow me on Instagram, I really do enjoy cooking. It's like when you have ADHD, you have anxiety. For me, cooking, I put my phone down. I'm not worried about stuff, and I'm really just in the
Yeah.
zone, which is one of the things that I truly enjoy about that space in cooking. So I think if you didn't know me or you just knew me from Survivor, what you didn't know is that I'm a healthcare executive. I've been working in that space for the last 15 to 20 years. From an event curation standpoint, I love to bring people together. I love to connect people. I'm a person that, like, I forget when I connect people and how stuff happens. And then people remind me, oh, you put me on with this, or you connected me with this. And I think that's one of the things that kind of manifests itself in Survivor, is why people were so threatened by me, because I was building genuine relationships with almost everybody, which is kind of, something you're not really supposed to do anymore. But like for
Yeah.
me, that was something like I'm a person that can walk into almost any room when I feel like it and kind of talk to anybody. And this fun
Mhm.
stuff and weird fun stuff happens to me. I just feel I'm very, very blessed in that regard, where I always feel like I can, I'm always in a situation where I know somebody or I can meet somebody, connect with somebody. And sometimes I take that for granted because I don't want to be bothered. But
Yeah.
then a lot of times, like, me going to Survivor events and seeing the fans and seeing people like you and building these relationships over time,
Yeah.
it's things for me that I thoroughly enjoy, because it's a side of me that people may not even, my friends don't watch Survivor. I would say, like, literally
Mhm.
half my
Mhm.
friends watched the first 2 episodes and was like, that was good, James. Good job. So it's kind of just one of those interesting things where, you know,
Yeah.
it just kind of going through the motions, and the other sides of me now embracing them more, because I don't think I
Mhm.
did as much as that before.
Mm. Wow. There's so much there. We're gonna get into a lot of it. But James, I literally, as you were saying that, as you're talking, I connect people like I'm so literally your phone, like I hear your phone blowing up. Like your phone is blowing up.
Oops.
I literally hear it. I'm just saying, because this is like perfect, because it's a sign of just how much you are connecting people. You never know who's gonna pop up on James' phone, who's gonna show up, like all of that. So I don't know. I'm just like I think everything you said is a good, like, self-aware assessment of you. That's how I see you, except there's so much, like, I had no idea about all of your background when it came to healthcare and everything else. Um, how let's just start there. Like, how did you get into that? Because it sounds like to me, you went from like, you're being a kid, little James Jones, like living your life, all of that stuff. And then and you said when you're 19, you got into healthcare and everything else, but specifically like maternal health and everything else from around that. Like, where did that even spark for you? I ask mostly because I mean, like, I'm guessing there are probably not a ton of men in that space, but uh I don't know. I want to know more.
So, all right. Long story short, like I don't plan my life. I wish I planned. I wish I was one of those people that like literally like I admire people that knew what they wanted to do at a certain age, right? I
Yeah.
literally didn't. So I went to FAMU, Florida A&M, Tallahassee. I got a
Uh-huh.
full academic scholarship. So let's start there. Full academic
Okay.
scholarship to go to college.
Okay,
Bam.
wait a minute. A full academic scholarship. Let's just one of those. Damn,
We
look at
got
that.
sound effects. Great. So
Look. Yeah.
went down there. This is why my life is so random. Somebody walks into one of our classrooms and says, "Yo, Goldman Sachs is here interviewing. You should go interview with Goldman Sachs." Not me, but to the class. I'm a
Oh.
kid from Philly, so kid from Philly, 6X white tees, Girbaud jeans.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about what a Goldman Sachs is, like literally
Yeah.
nothing. But I go to the interview, so I interview. Little known to me, I got the internship. And my TA, who was like a fifth year, didn't get the internship. So she came into class, it's like, "Yo, you got your rejection letter?" I'm like, "No, I didn't get my rejection letter." And I got the internship, and she's my teacher. So,
Wow.
but I also didn't know what Goldman Sachs was or how prestigious of an internship that was. Like, I'm just an 18-year-old kid from Philly. I'm the youngest intern at Goldman Sachs in New York, right? But
Wow.
what I knew about myself is I'm not a cutthroat
Mhm.
money first person. So like up there, it was crazy because you see these people, and you see people at Harvard, Yale, and you realize, wait, I'm just as good as you people too. Like I know exactly what I'm
Mhm.
doing. I can move in these spaces, and that's another thing that gave me confidence when I like was able to kind of, I talked about that in my survivor journey, but just being able to go to Goldman when I'm 18, 19 and be able to do that. So then I wanted to
Mhm.
work in Pfizer for a pharmaceutical sales company because they give you a company car, company credit card, and put you up in an apartment for 6 months while you're in college. I was like, all right, cool.
Damn.
So I interviewed for that. Got that. So I got that job before I was even 21. So they put me in Fayetteville, North Carolina by myself when I'm 20 years old, apartment, car, company credit card, all that good stuff. And you're actually doing the job. So for me, like my personality, like who knew, but like that's how I kind of,
Mm.
started getting into pharmaceutical sales and healthcare. And just like this is not nothing is planned. Like none of this is really planned. How I got my
Mm.
first job talking to OBGYNs was somebody walks in and says, "Yo, we have a job opening in Philly. Yo, maybe you should interview for it." I fly up. I don't tell my parents I'm flying in. So I fly in for an interview. Then I just pull up to my parents' house. Just walk in the door. Like, no,
Mm.
like just like glad I didn't get shot. Like scared the bejesus out of the world.
Yeah.
But and I end up started working, and that's how I started getting to maternity health, calling the OBGYNs and just being able to and I'm 22 at the time. So one,
Mhm.
you start seeing healthcare, but I'm having these conversations with these OBGYNs about just maternal health, women, and the healthcare system and what's happening. So that kind of one of those things that kind of really shaped me, but you don't know because you're 22. Now I'm
Mhm.
shoot, I'm about to be 40. So it's like so
Damn.
when you yeah, you sent me with the damn.
It's not no, it's not because you're 40. Like it's not that, but I'm just like, wow, like, and you mentioned like the timeline of everything in your career. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And I also in my head, I'm like, okay, I know how old James is, how young oh damn, I'm just digging a hole right now. This isn't good. But no, it's just like literally it's amazing to think that like you're going so in depth with your story and we're only just like at the beginning of it still. Like I could sit back, get my popcorn. I'm on the ride right now.
Yeah,
See how I recovered from that?
You did. You almost hit with the Don Cheadle, Kevin Hart. He was like, I'm 54. Damn. Like, damn. But still got my hairline. I'm good. I'm happy. But so me and healthcare kind of got in that way. And then I started working for healthcare administration because I'm a closet nerd. I grew up playing chess. I don't like to feel like I'm limited in any type of way. It's one of the issues I have is that I want to do so much. And I think about so many different things that it's sometimes hard for me to concentrate or to think about things in a box because I'm always pulling from here and here. So I didn't want to be pigeonholed to being a sales guy because I don't like being put in boxes. So it's like, oh, you're a sales guy. People think you only can do that. So I was like, all right, how can I switch this up? So I started working for HMO and building incentive programs for providers. And then that's when I started to build, the maternity program as well as some other programs where it's like, oh, shoot. And then I worked in Philly. And the thing about Philly is being from here is that I was able to kind of interact and help those doctor's offices in the neighborhoods that, like, I would walk into a doctor's office and see some lady from my church. And she'd be like, yo, this is James. You better talk to him. So, like, I'm talking to the providers that are actually servicing the people that I know in my church and my family. Like, so I think that was the thing about that job and making sure to bridge the gap to making sure that they have resources and understanding kind of the other side that people don't know in medicine about resources and allocation and how to get the things that you really need and trying to help those providers out as much as possible in that regard. So that's like all these little random things shaped kind of, how I view and communicate and how I view the world. Yeah, so that's how I kind of got into the healthcare space. And then now I kind of do data analysis and I do back-end work. So I learn how to code and the back-end of database. So now I feel like I love solving problems. Once again, I grew up playing chess. My dad taught me how to play chess when I was 6. And I've been playing chess. I played chess as an amateur competitively up until about high school. So with the Iceland, all that stuff, Iceland, Hawaii, all that good stuff.
Wait, for chess?
All right, yeah. So how I think what were my, things and what made me sit out? I won the US Open when I was 12 for my ratings bracket. So I beat adults, played against adults. I traveled to Iceland, representing the United States, Hawaii, all this type of stuff, playing in different opens. I was like the top person in my state for grade. All this random stuff about, like, yeah, it was a long time ago. I forgot most of it. But yeah, like that was kind of my upbringing. So like I remember telling people I would be the only like black kid at a lot of these chess tournaments. Like you're going to a chess tournament in Pennsylvania or a chess tournament in Knoxville, Tennessee. And like I'm the only there for a lot sometimes, man. Like when I did pharmaceutical sales, I'm the only black male. I'm 22. I'm the only black male in the whole entire Northeast. And I'm winning awards, top 5%. Top 10%. So just being like typically the only in a lot of spaces, especially spaces that are competitive, has been something that I've been used to, but also I enjoy being the black kid that had headphones on that was beating grown men in chess. Like that was fun to me. Like I enjoy being that person, so all this is, like you said, like it's weird the things that influence you and bring you and form you, because sometimes I don't get to say and think about these things and talk about these things that often. So
yeah. So everything you just said too about being the only one in the room, like I relate to it so much, and I feel like my perspective on that has shifted. I don't know if it's shifted or what, because it's like I guess two things could be true at the same time. Like in one sense, you could like thrive and be like, I'm the only, like I'm here, I'm doing it, I deserve to be here, I'm showing up. And then the other side, where I feel like I am more and more and more over like the last several years, is like, okay, I need to be with my people. Like how, I don't know. I'm like curious how you kind of navigated that reality of being like the only one as like a black man in those spaces. It also sounds like as like one of the younger people in a lot of those spaces. Like what was that like for you?
I think I did a lot socially outside of those spaces, especially from a work standpoint, where I never really worked in an office. So I was always in my car, moving around. So you find your I think when you are in spaces that may necessarily not be your desired space, that makes you go seek and try to create those spaces, and you try to find that family or
Mm,
those connections outside of there, because we're multifaceted people. You can't expect all your friends to be there loving everything that you do or supporting
yeah.
everything that you do. So it's kind of like I knew all my friends was going to play chess. That, I mean, that was like
Yeah.
that wasn't going to be the thing. But you know, but I ran track in high school as well. I played basketball. Just like finding different areas, but like I don't like being a box. So like I would play Magic. I had a
Mhm.
Magic, bro. I want to get back into playing
Yeah.
Magic, you know. So it's like I was like, oh, my deck used to be fire. I started playing on my computer again, like, oh yeah, this is dope. So I think I was always a person that if I knew I wasn't going to be in my happy place working or whatever I was doing,
Mhm.
but I'll always try to create spaces where I could be. And maybe that's the reason why I started doing events where, because I wanted just to have spaces that I felt comfortable and people like me felt comfortable. And I feel like I'm a person that I get a good read on a room, a good read on people. So if I think it's fun, I feel like a lot of people, other people think it's fun. And then you realize
Yeah.
if you feel a certain type of way, there are other people out there in the world that feel that way that may not be able to express it, communicate it, or execute the things that way that you can do it, that you're a benefit to. And I think sometimes we forget that when we are doing
Mhm.
things, like even yourself, like a lot of people
Yeah.
probably want to, start a podcast because now everybody's doing them, but it's like, how do I find my niche? Like, what speaks to me?
Yeah.
And just showing up and being your authentic self and doing what you authentically love is something that I feel like we had to do more of that we don't, because sometimes we think, oh, what's his reception is going to be? How many people are going to
Mm.
watch? How many people are going to view? How's this? How is this? How is that? And the question is really like, if I want to be here and I want to partake in this, kind of being with the people that want to partake in that too. It's kind of like almost going to like a Bryce and Win event where you're like, hey,
Yeah.
if you're going to one of these events, you pretty much probably like Survivor, I'm assuming. So like you kind of
Mhm.
have your creative family amongst stuff that you like to do. And I feel like that's kind of one of the things that I may be good at that I never really thought about being good at.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because like I've always said that to people with interviewing, with anything, like do what you love, like do what makes you feel good. And with interviews, like if this didn't come out, like if it was never published, if no one ever heard it, like for me, and I felt like this for years because I started interviewing people more like change makers and people doing like more impactful work in the community back in 2017. And I started doing that, and I think I had like probably I can't tell you how few views those have, but now like with Pod Friends, with everything I do on RHAP as a podcast, even with what I do professionally, like it's so many more people seeing it and consuming it. But I felt fulfilled doing it just like to connect with the people on the other end. And it's so interesting, like when you talked about the events and how you were inspired to do it by your mom and just her being sick. Like for me, with interviewing, I feel like for me, that was my thing of doing that thing, one, that I just wanted to do for me, but two, like, and this is the thing that is so insane because I feel like I found this out, or I realized this like the day before, like I saw you at Bryson Wen. That like what inspired me to start interviewing was when my dad passed away in early 2017, and so he had a rare form of leukemia for a very short like amount of time, was sick, but that was the thing where I was like, let me go find people who are these like superheroes, these positive like influences, and just start talking with them and asking them questions. But like it's kind of insane to think because now it's been like 8 years, and that's kind of what set me off on this journey, which like I'm so thankful for because I often like I often think of the phrase of like taking lemons and making lemonade. Like, how could you take the things that aren't good, like the challenges in your life, and turn that into something which, I admire you for that. But when you came up to me and mentioned Pod Friends, I was like, damn, I need to talk with James about some things, because we have a lot more in common than I even realized, which is like the insane thing about it,
I mean, and that's the thing what I realized. Just in general, like we have a lot more things in common with people. And sometimes it's tough to actually have those conversations. So I was looking forward to
Yeah.
this because I know there are layers to people. Like I know there's layers to me. And one of the things that I know
Yeah.
I don't like to be is like I said this before, is like put into a box of, oh, he is this. Like even on the show, it's like, oh, you're the chess guy. I'm like, am I? Or am I the party guy? Am I the healthcare guy?
Yeah.
Am I like the club? Am I the club promoter guy? Am I like what guy am I? And I think people
Mm,
is I feel like people like to care. Like, am I the strategist? Am I social? Like, what was your social game? Were you like a
yeah.
challenge player? Like all these things that come up. I've always been a person that like kind of fought against being any label, even if it's true. Like, oh, I don't want to be
Yeah.
the smart guy because being a smart guy wasn't always cool. Like growing up, like
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
luckily I had these big red glasses and I got into a fight my first week of school after skipping the grade, right? And I was on the track team and I was good at football and basketball. So like
Yeah.
I got shielded from a lot, but like it wasn't cool. Like being the smart kid in class wasn't like cool. Like you had to kind of like
Mhm.
go around that and have other things you had to do to kind of get by. You had to tell jokes on the back of the bus. Like you had this big
Yeah.
portfolio. I went to with the Masterman. People don't know, super nerdy school, magnet school in Philadelphia. We had these
Mhm.
big nerdy behind portfolios on the bus on SEPTA, like which is public transportation in Philly. Therefore, you actually had to be funny and crack jokes and sit on the bus, and people would make fun of you. So you had to figure out, okay, who are your allies? Like who could you joke with? Like
Mhm.
who had your back? Like and you had to build your coalitions. Like that's just kind of the world I come from and the world I live in. And yeah.
Wait, so I have to I'm glad that you're bringing that up, like painting the picture of everything, because I've had Bryce on Pod Friends, I've had Wendell on, and we've kind of, I'm sure in different ways we've talked a little bit about Philly, but Philly is a place that like I didn't actually really spend time in until we talked about it earlier, Survivor Philly. And then now I find myself in there like a handful of times per year. Like I know people there, it's comfortable, it's cozy, all that. But like, how would you describe Philly for the uninitiated?
I would say Philly matches energy and authenticity in the sense of
Mm,
you can like if your energy is fake, you're gonna get like
yeah.
some fake Philly energy back. But if you come with authentic energy, eventually you'll find your tribe or whatever situation you want to be in. Cause like
Hmm.
Philly's is a place that's just built off of authenticity because people have been here for so long. People have seen you at your highest, people have seen you at your lowest. People have seen you before you were on shows, people see you after you were on shows. People have seen
Mm,
like and people will call you out. Like if I was a different person after getting off Survivor and was acting all high and mighty, like, ooh, in Philly, that doesn't matter. Like no one actually cares.
uh-huh.
Like Wendell won Survivor, people care, but no one like is like, oh shoot, like
Yeah.
like no one really actually cares, which is like one of those good things and a blessing I think about Philly, where people you build authentic relationships if you're authentic, and
Hmm.
you may not have to check up on people every now and then or every. It's just more so. This is if you come with that energy, you're gonna get that same response back. Where I think most Philly people and people that are from the area are genuinely nice people and they're connected people. And if you authentically connect with somebody via a passion, especially like if say you like spoken word, if you like video games,
Mm,
if you like board games, whatever you like, you can find that authentic group in Philadelphia from a community
uh-huh.
standpoint, and it's very accessible. Where you may get a look when you walk in because they don't know you, but the second you sit down, you smile, and they're like,
Hmm.
"Oh, are you here for this?" You'll meet 5 or 6 friends and people that you may not even thought that you would never connect with, but everybody is good people for the most part, 99.9% of the time. in Philly.
Yeah. No, I feel that, and I feel like it's cool. One, it's cool to like experience that energy. It's cool also that Survivor has a lot of that Philly influence, that Philly energy that comes together. It's cool also to see just like, I mean, look at Wendell, look at Bryce, like look at that beyond Philly, like you all thrive just with people, which I feel like there's like everything you're saying, I'm like, of course it makes sense that like people connect with you, right?
It starts with Jervis. Like if you ever met Jerv, like same as
Yeah.
like same way. Like the funny part is we all kind of play the same too. Like we all are these relatively
Mm,
loyal players. Like everybody
mm,
from Philly for the most part is relatively loyal. Like that has played the game. Like if you just go down the line, like which is actually interesting because we're pretty much a loyal city. Like it's weird how we built that way. But
yeah.
yeah, we're authentic and it's kind of more so it's cool to be yourself in that authenticity where like you don't have
Mm,
to be any type of way and you can find your tribe, but then people outside your tribe can still respect you because they know that's authentically you. Like I feel like for me growing up,
mm,
I was a nerd. My friends knew I was a nerd. So it was like I wasn't trying to be nothing I wasn't. So it was like, all right, well, that's James. He be doing his nerd thing, he run track and play football, but you know, it's all
mm,
good. And it's like you can be your authentic self, and you can find your tribe here. And I think that's the one thing I like about Philly that I don't think Philly gets enough credit for, or people understand
mhm,
that get here. Whereas like you don't have to try to conform, just be you. And you be you and you're
mhm.
open, you can find your tribe.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting though, because you also, like you said, not only have you like, are you someone who can find your tribe, but then you are like curating the vibes, you're bringing people together. So there's a lot to talk about because with you, James, I'm like, how many jobs does this man have? Like, come on. It's insane because it's like, look, you've talked about what you do in the healthcare world. We've got that check, but also you're putting events together. I see you cooking. I feel like I just saw you earlier on your Instagram. You were making a chili earlier. Like
Oh yeah, that
you're
was
putting on
good. That was
events,
delicious.
happy hours, all of it. You're bringing people together. Like what are you? I guess it's like the cross section of food and events, but like what are you up to right now?
Like literally, I grilled yesterday in the snow. So I made some ribs and chicken.
Really?
Very delicious. Yeah, I really did. They were very.
Outside in the snow?
I, like I said, like so, I have anxiety and ADHD.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like with everything going on in the country right now.
Yeah, okay,
My,
yeah.
my happy
Yeah.
my happy
Yeah.
place is literally the kitchen or on the grill or with people. But it's like sometimes you just sit back with and it's funny, I was the fire guy on Survivor where like I'm out there making
Mm,
sure the fire is going, like I'm like using my grill, like, oh, like starting the fire on Survivor is like keeping the fire going when you grilling. Like who knew? Like this is it's just the
yeah.
same thing. And that's just kind of my thing. Also started landlording. Why did they come with the name landlord? It's such a crazy name. But just like
Now
so
that you
I
mentioned
don't
it, actually.
I just don't understand like who was like, yo, you you're renting out properties, you're the landlord. Like what? Can we come up with a better name than that? Like the NBA don't have only have board of governors. Can we like I don't know, but landlord just sounds so bad. Like it's so
Man.
yeah. So I do that too, allegedly. But it's also
Damn.
interesting that you can be super busy but still feel
Yeah.
like you're not doing enough. It's like one of those weird
Uh-huh.
things.
I know
Like
what you mean.
yeah, it's like you like I'm super busy. Like why do I have these free 2 hours? And you, it's like, am I entitled to have a free 2 hours where I'm not doing anything? Or like everybody we got survivors like, oh, what else are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know, just like work. Like it's one of those things where like, what are you supposed to do? And I've always kind of wrestled with that in general. So I appreciate like these questions because it's actually making me think about, where as I turn this big 40 in May,
Mhm.
where what I'm
Uh,
doing with my life, considering most of it's done. Like it's kind of crazy.
wait, let
Half of
me
it.
not most of it. Look, I feel like you'll make you're the type of person, James, who's gonna live forever. Like, I feel like you know, when I'm still young and nimble, like you'll be hitting 100 and I'll be happy. I'll be there celebrating with you.
Man,
Wait, I just need to bring up something. So this is the other thing. And don't ask me how I how this all came up. James, what is your birthday?
May 7th.
May 7th.
Oh,
I'm May
yeah.
May 5th. May 5th.
Oh, you Cinco de Mayo. Taurus is
Cinco
out
de
here.
Mayo.
See,
There we
knew it was
go.
something, like knew it was
Yeah.
something. Knew it was
Yeah.
something. But yeah, how do you feel like do you feel like where you're like at when you're like do you feel like how close do you feel like you have to maximizing everything that you potential that you have? Like
Mm.
0,
You
1
know
to
what? That's
10.
a great question. Oh wow, 1 to 10. How close am I to maximizing it? Like 10 being like, okay, I've done it. Like let me
Yeah, like
let
I mean,
me
everything that you know you can do. Like everything that
yeah.
people seeing you. Like where would you rate yourself?
Oh my god. Well, it's so funny because I feel like for me, that's a great question. Like for me, I feel like there's so much where I'm just like I'm always going for it. Like I feel like this is so random, but one of the times I saw it might have been at the launch of the iStan. It was at the launch of the iStan Kagyan documentary, which people should check out over on
Oh
RHAP's
no, that
YouTube.
it was
But
good. It was good.
no, but you said something to me that actually it doesn't live rent free in my head, but it really should because I don't even know what we were talking about, but you looked at me and you're like, man, you're always there for the win. Like you always go for the win is what you said to me. And I was like, I don't know what he's seeing, but he's seeing it because I am someone who's so driven, who's pushing, I'm doing this thing with pod friends, with podcasting, always pushing myself further in the RHAP world. Outside of that, with everything with work, and speaking of being the only one, in the I work in the climate change world where it's such a white space. And even in my organization, I founded a program that's focused on the stories of Black and brown people and highlighting our voices, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm pushing through. But you know what? As much as good as I feel like things are, I always see myself as but there's so much more, James. There's so much more. I always say to myself, I'm only getting started. So I don't know. Maybe I would probably put it at a pretty low number. Maybe I'd say a 7 in that I think I'm maximizing where I am now, but there's just so much more that I'm gonna do that I want to do. And it's just okay, we're only getting started. And I'll tell you, you speaking of everything you've done, I have, and I don't think I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast. In my work before my current job, where I've been for 4 years, I won two NASA awards for leading a program. I look, what is that look on your face?
Like that. I don't know any black people that won that awards. I mean, I
Well,
know
me,
they exist, but I mean, I met one today, but
I
that's
I barely
lit.
know they exist either. But there's that, and then it's in my work, I get to do so many talks, workshops, so many cool things. The I Stand Kage documentary for RHAP was so cool, but everything I get to do professionally is so cool. But I'm telling you, I'm always just I feel in a way, and I never think about it like this, but I feel it's talking with you, the Godfather. I feel I'm just constantly working to build my own empire, build my own thing. And not even to have things. And it's not about money or anything like that, but it's how could I keep making more and more of an impact in the world? So I don't know. I feel unstoppable in that way, which is cool. But also sometimes things take patience, things take time. So that's kind of where I am. Damn, you're really you turned the mic back on me, and now I'm reflecting on so much. Damn.
Oh,
I keep saying damn because it's just being with you. One, there's so much that you've mentioned where I'm shocked, or I didn't see all of the pieces come together. And now you were talking about how this has helped making you examine so much, but now it's making me examine so much. It's like the Spider-Man meme of the two Spider-Man, and literally we're wearing the orange. We're wearing
yeah,
the
like
same orange. So what the hell?
This is not planned. This is not planned at all.
No,
But
it was not planned at all.
yeah, I mean, like I feel like one of my favorite podcasts or type of podcast I listen to are just origin stories. And just understanding kind of. I feel like I'm a person that if you meet me one day, you can see me one way. You meet me another day, you can see me another way. If you meet me another day, you can see me another way. And if that's your only viewpoint of me, then you may be missing out on a lot of things. I feel like that's the case for probably not for everybody, but a lot of people have layers. And layers are appealing. Those layers are about their ability to be comfortable, being vulnerable, what things they're willing to share, what things they're not willing to share, how they want to be perceived and viewed, how they want you to perceive and view them. And I really admire folks that just do things because I know how hard it is to kind of start things. Me being anxiety, ADHD, and I say that only because I say it from I don't want to like stigmatize or XYZ, but you have to give people credit because you don't know what it takes for them to do certain things. Certain things that are easy that you perceive them making easy they may have been laying in bed for an hour trying to get the courage to do this one thing that they do well. They do better than you that you think is easy for them. It may take all to do, and you don't know that because we're not a country or people, or we don't communicate that way. It's like no one thinks that, if you watch, Sports Center, Scott Van Pelt, they're like, oh, or Jeff Probst. It's like they watch Jeff. Jeff just does it, like Jeff probably like it takes it's a lot. Like he make it look easy.
Well, also
but
and there's that, but like you don't know how he is at like making pancakes. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know what it is that's difficult for Jeff, right? And I think like that perspective of like seeing the nuance in people is so important. I would never pretend that like social media gives us a good idea of how people see each other, but so often things are that either or, this person's either one thing or another, or like it turns into arguments so often. But it's like, but like we need to be able to see the complexity. We need to see like the both end of it all. So I'm with you. I think that's cool. And I will also say, I feel like in podcasting, but also even on Pod Friends, like so many people have talked about having ADHD and what that's like and how navigating that. But like for some people, it's ADHD that's the challenge. For other people, it's like, there's like grief and loss. For other people, it's like a million different things that people face. So it's deep. That's deep. But you know what, James? Let me bring up something. Oh wait, go for it before I bring up
I'm good. I'm good. Bring us something.
No, I was just gonna say one way. See, this is what you call a good segue. I'm very proud of myself right now. Some people deal with stress, I'm not gonna, this isn't an ad. This is not an ad for like a virtual therapy thing, but actually therapy is great. Get your therapy. But I was gonna say some people deal with their issues by eating. And you are a prolific cook. You are someone who makes all sorts of beautiful dishes. I mentioned I saw chili earlier today on your Instagram. But actually, so just to give you a peek at behind the scenes, back in my season premiere of this season of Pod Friends, I had the one and only Kellen Bechtold of Survivor Ghost Island on. Great to have her on. And I had a video question submitted by the one and only Wendell Holland as part of that episode. Go back and check it out if you haven't checked it out, right? But James, I actually reached out to the one and only Bryce Isaiah for a question for you. And he texted me a response back. So here's my question from, this is actually a question from Bryce. There we go.
Oh gosh.
Hello. Oh, this is your baby boy, Bryce Isaiah, the purple pants badass. And I've got a question for James Jones, aka JJ. James, I want to know, we all see your love for cooking on social media, but what's your all-time favorite dish, your absolute favorite dish to make? Please give us the ingredients in your step-by-step process. ... Love Pod Friends. All right, so that was a question, actual question from Bryce.
that was like the Bryce on Wendell baby.
With the beef hat.
Yes. Let's see. So what is my favorite thing
He
to
didn't send
actually
me a video. Damn, he
I,
didn't send me a video, so that's what you get.
my favorite thing to cook.
Yes.
All right, so I feel like this is actually an interesting question. So I think first thought I would say grilling, right? I would say like that would be my
Okay.
first thought. But I would say the most fun I had from a just filming and creating standpoint is making pizzas in my pizza oven. Like so,
Oh.
During the pandemic,
Love pizza.
I bought a pizza oven and kind of started going ham and just making pizzas like every. Yeah, I was just making pizzas. Like you gotta think, right? So the dough, like you can get pre-made dough. Like I made a dough one
Yeah.
time, was like whatever. But like once you make homemade pizza in a wood fire oven with great ingredients, like great mozzarella, you go to the butcher and you get some great pepperoni, like you get some great prosciutto, you get some nice Campari tomatoes, like you get like you make your pizza sauce flavored the way you want it. So if you want it spicy, you can make your pizza sauce spicy. You can add your hot honey. You can make your pizza stuffed crust with mozzarella and like prosciutto. Like I stuffed the crust with mozzarella and prosciutto and hot honey. Like you can just go plenty different places with it. And then you put it in the wood fire oven, and then you just have a cocktail in the backyard. So like that was the one thing. Like pandemic was crazy, so I redid my backyard and put too much money into it that I didn't need to, that I regret now doing. But when you needed an outside space, like that's what I was doing. Like I was just making pizzas and relaxing. So I guess that involves fire as well, because using wood pellets. So that, or I would say grilling and making my own little dry rub for ribs, just because it's nothing like someone's face. Like it's pretty vain, but like when you make something good and someone bites into it and you can see their face and they like, yo, this shit is slim. Oh.
You could say no. You could. You say
like,
the shit is what?
Like if like when you could tell when someone bites into your food and they thoroughly are enjoying the experience, it's like, yeah, I did that. It's like this anxiety or rush. Like it's kind of just like, all right, I don't know if this is going to be good, but I think it's going to be good. And then when someone like bites into it, it's like, yo, this joint is fire. Wow. You like, yeah, I did that. So I kind of like that feeling, but it's also anxiety. Like, I don't know what people like. I know what I like. Who says you're going to like what I like? And I think that's kind of the part I wrestle with too as well, where everybody's like, start a restaurant. I'm like, no. That's crazy.
Wow.
So I would say my favorite thing to cook, I would definitely say is, I'm going to give it pizza, or it could be octopus, but I would say pizza.
Oh my gosh, James, I am salivating right now. Like it's actually crazy. Like the pizza was so good, and I could tell I'm hungry right now, because I'm just like, ooh, the pizza did it for me, but then you got like the ribs, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm picturing a dry rub situation, but then you get all the sauces in it, the octopus. We didn't even talk. I realize I can't handle talking about food on. Literally, like I'm struggling to talk because you just got me. You got me. So I didn't even have to be there to taste it. I'm just like hearing about it and hearing your passion for it is so
But
good.
The reason why I have a passion for food is I didn't grow up eating that much food, meaning like I didn't have Chinese food until my senior year of high school. I didn't have a buffalo wing until my second senior year in college. So like I didn't have a diversity of food palette until I started like working, and I started having to go out to eat with doctors. So it's like you just had to start developing, like, oh, I didn't have sushi, so I was like 23. So it's kind of just like you're developing. I developed my food palette like late in very much life. So it's like a lot of stuff from me and food was just like me experiencing it, because growing up, we would cook on Sundays, grew up in the church. Dad's deacon, mama deaconess. Like I was on the choir, I was an usher, I was a Boy Scout, did all that. So like within structure, like I grew up around structure, but outside of that, it's like, I'm like, wow, like no. And you kind of have your Sunday dinner, so your soul food, all that stuff. and I never really banged with like all that stuff. And then I didn't really like, I don't like hot sauce like that. I didn't really like the fried fish. I wasn't into any of that stuff like that. So I didn't eat that much food. And then like I got older and I bought my house when I was 22, my first house when I was 22.
Wow.
And you start living by yourself. You realize you gotta start eating. And I started cooking. And then I realized like my first thing I ever posted on social media was a food dish. Like, and my food back then was horrible. Like it was not as good as it is now. Like it was literally like it was like struggle. Like, and now I'm solid. Now it's cool. But my friends, my close friends would say, yo, you put the struggle place up. I thought I was killing it. No. That iPhone 4
What were
pictures?
You cooking?
Oh man. Like
what was it back then?
It was like I was just doing like random seafood stuff, like stuffing salmon and making a salmon pen with crab meat with like rice and being like real like chill, like of course grilling. Like because when you're 22 with a house, right? Here's the problem: 22 with a house and a Sam's Club card. You go just grab a case of ribs was like $60, and a case of chicken was $60. For like $150, $200, I could just throw a full barbecue at my house. And I had like college furniture.
Yeah.
So I was the annoying person that was like before social media, like, dang, I'm old. But before social media, I was throwing like the craziest like house parties, boxing parties, like so a fight, you know, if a fight would happen, bet. Who has a house? Me. Who's ordering the fight? Me.
Yeah.
Got 3 floors, yo, like and just 6 slabs of ribs, like 5 packs of chicken, and back, you know, you don't have to. Now everything has to look nice and gourmet because before you put all that in the tray, have your trays out there, like yo, you want to bring something. But that was always has been me, and it's weird how stuff has just transitioned over time. Man, wow, it's crazy.
Okay, we need to get off the food because it's too good. But I also feel like, look, there's maybe you could tell me a little bit more about what is it that you're like doing in Philly? Because like I follow along and I follow your other Instagram, right? That's for like actually bring the good vibes, bring the people together. What is it that you're actually doing with all of that? Like, could you explain to me? Because I'm like, look, even today I was like, oh yeah, keep me updated. I'm like, I'm not even in Philly, but I'm like so here for it. But yeah, what is that all about? What are you doing?
Yep. So that is the thing. So when COVID hit, right? So yeah, COVID hit, and of course, events stopped. I threw one of the last parties, happy hours in Philly before the shutdown, March 13th. I remember it because I remember this week.
No.
Like, I remember this week clearly because I went on a date to the Sixers game and we was leaving. They were basically like, this is probably the last Sixers game that's going to be in the season. I'm like, all right, whatever, cool.
Oh,
so that Friday, we about to throw this happy hour. And this is, we didn't know it. Well, President Trump.
You kind of knew.
Office.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Very pro-business. We didn't know what was going on. So we was like, they have like, all right, we going to still have this happy hour? Well, man, it was a great happy hour.
Yeah.
Like I was literally on a roll. So you do that. And then, you know, COVID came, great. You know, ruined a lot of stuff, but it is what it is. And then so COVID is leaving, and then like Survivor is happening. It was like, oh shit, I'm actually going to be on Survivor. This is wild. Like, and then so now that happened, and then just coming off of that and just trying to get back to reality, and you know, working my job, trying to do the real estate stuff. And it's like, for me, everything from an event standpoint is always about Phil. Like, I never did it for money. Like, I always just kind of was like, oh, I want to be in this space. So right now, I'm trying to figure out what does that look like for me now at 39, 40, as opposed to, I knew what that was for me at 20, 32, 33. I knew exactly the vibes that I was going for. Now is me trying to figure out like what exactly are those vibes now. What I'm wanting to do is I want to started bringing together intimate groups of less than probably 12 or 15 for dinner and networking. Only because like even like this podcast is a good example of we can see people in passing, right? But sometimes we don't get to have those extra conversations or just like that 20-minute sit down. Like this has been way more than 20 minutes, but we don't have like a 20 or 30-minute sit down with people that we admire, we look up to, or we just want to know more about outside of just kind of not service level, but just what's happening about with them. And I feel like that's where my spirit is moving, and that's where I think I'm going to be creating moving forward. I still want to, do stuff that's like mass and bring people together. I like working with Bryce and Wynn on those events because that kind of helps me out too, as far as being able to travel, see different people, meet different people. But I think as far as officially, like I never really took what I was doing from an event standpoint serious. Like I never thought about it as like a job or like a business or like what value am I adding? And part of me is trying to figure out how to do that and still be authentic to myself. So I would say it's a TBD, but I know I really want to eat, connect, and build. And that's kind of what I really think I'm moving for and what I'm really going to execute. I did also, man, when the George Floyd stuff happened, I started a podcast like during the pandemic, and then the George Floyd stuff happened, and it was just like it was so much stuff going on, like from I don't even think we realize our psyche and how much socially we have changed because it was with COVID to not COVID, right? And we don't even think that was like 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago,
about 5 years.
Experience like it's not like in like we like I'm like on Survivor, we were still taking COVID tests. That was 2022.
Yeah,
like every day.
Yeah,
like it's like the way we had thought about how the world is normal and what's normal was not normal. Like I can honestly say, I'm just getting back to, I think, being in a groove, like of. Just a not regular person. I've always been a regular person, but just you're going through COVID. You're dealing with this. Then you're on this show, and that process for that is literally a 6-month process beforehand. You're like paranoid and stressed out. Like, am I going to make this show? Then the show airs. You're like, okay, how am I going to be perceived? Then the show gets aired, and it's like, James was just out there. He was cool, but I feel like my confessional count was low. I made some impact, but it wasn't like I was I wasn't like out like I wasn't one of the people that I don't know they would put on the cover. Even though I think my impact on the game was very strong, but that wasn't the story that they were trying to tell, which I'm very fine with. And it's like so you get off the show, you're dealing with that. You're like, damn, I just gave away this much of my life for this.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, okay, cool. Now you're dealing with that, and then you're trying to adjust back. You're in the community. And then like for me, I wasn't working at the time. So like leaving my job, doing Survivor, then getting back into the workforce. I was unemployed for like a year and a half. So like just going through a bunch of different things where, just trying to just get back to, okay, cool. Now life is pretty good. Now you're sitting there waiting for when is the next shoe going to drop because you're so used to kind of like shoot the shoe dropping and trying to live not thinking about a shoe dropping or creating different shoes. So like where I'm at with the event standpoint is I really want to connect people authentically, and for me that's through food. And people like that's one of our universal things. No matter how much beef you have, food is universal. You can be like people have to eat, and that's how most deals get done.
Not you said. I just have to call it out. No matter how much beef you have, I know that wasn't intentional, but you said like no matter how much beef you have, like food connects us, which I thought was pretty. I just want to call that out.
Yo, it's true. Like you can like put like this, right? If you got two people boxing, right? If they box, they have a whole 12-round match. They tired as I don't know what. And you put some food out there, they're gonna go to that same table. You put some pizza. They gonna open that box, and it's like someone get a slice, someone get a slice. You're gonna break bread. And it's like breaking bread has like, been a thing. And, oh, sidebar, I joined a fraternity. I don't know if people know that. So it's like just when we had a break bread committee, like some of the best times we had were just like going to happy hour at 3:00 and just eating wings, because you never know the conversations you have or what someone else is going through or what someone's having a problem with. And people aren't naturally going to like, come out with that. But when you have some food, you have maybe a drink, then you had the ability to like, sit back and say, oh, shoot, I'm working on this. I'm having issues with this, or I could use some help with this. And I suck at asking for help. Like, I don't like, I'm a fake only child, product self-sufficient person. So it's like, I know other people got to be like me that like have to want to do stuff, but maybe don't have the ability, the skills to ask for help. Like, I suck at asking for help, like with anything. Like, so like having these spaces where you can do that and it's more natural. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm like, it's so tip for tat. It's like, no, like we building socially, and then from that social bond, the professional stuff can happen.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I feel like everything you're talking about, because like a lot of people struggle with asking for help. Like I'm one of those people, right? And I'm trying to always get better at that, like just welcoming that or accepting that. Or even like realizing when you need help with things or from other people. Like that in itself is a task, but you're talking about, okay, how do I find my community? How do I create my community? How do I have these spaces where I can ask for help, or where I can like lean on people, where I can have the good vibes. Right now, I feel like more than ever, people are in a spot where they need that energy. And so I'm curious from you, like, what tips do you have for people to like create that community, or like to bring people together so that they have that community around them? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't even know the first place to start.
So I would say this, like, people see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And you have to figure out a
100%.
way. Like, so how I got started with events is one of my friends said, James, you know a lot of people. You're very personable. I see something in you, and I'm gonna put you on this board for young professionals for the Barnes Museum. And so what I had to do was literally went through my phone and just texted people, hey, can you send me your email address? Hey, can you send me your email address? Hey, I'm doing something. Can you send me your email address? So I went through, got about 350 emails. And
Yeah.
Facebook, back with Facebook, I think this is pre-Instagram, all that stuff. Like, so
Yeah.
like I'm
Wow.
like,
Okay.
so and then there's like the shared thing was art. And I was like, okay, so create an email list, MailChimp, less than 2,000 is free, is what it is. Now I got like 8,000 emails, and it's so I grew it
Wow.
from like 350 to 8,000, like where it's sitting at now. But I would say figure out what you really want to do and understand that you aren't alone, ever alone in this world. As often as we think we are, we're not. And the things that you like, if you like it, someone else likes it, right? And if you start from that standpoint and come from something authentic, and part of it is stepping out on faith, but then it's also understanding that people want to do what you do. They may not look like you, they may not present themselves the way
Right.
you present themselves, but if you're talking about a shared passion, I would even like from a watch party standpoint. I remember seeing Wendell's first watch party. He lit me up because I was doing events. Wendell like, oh
Yeah.
yo, so I'm like, oh bet. Here's here. And like, I didn't go into an event thinking like, oh shoot, like the first we went to the first small one, they kept on getting bigger and bigger. And it's funny when I bring my friends to come to a Survivor events, they're like, what is this? It's like, what is happening? It's 300 people here to watch this show. And I feel like that's encouraging to say, like, if you like to play Magic, I'm pretty sure there's some other people that's around that, want to play Magic. And it's kind of like, be a fan. Don't be afraid to be a fan of what you like, and then see how you can put your own twist on it. So if whatever you like, attend events that are in that circle. Like it could be starting small. Like if you like photography, I like photography and I suck at it Facebook group. Like people people like in your area, like, oh, we want to get together. Bet. I say utilize Eventbrite and find and just go to things. I'm a person that goes out by myself. I'm an only child, or whatever. People like James, how you know so many people? When you go out by yourself, you just end up meeting and talking to people. But if you're shy, you go out to places that are inside your comfort zone from whatever you like to do.
Right.
If that's a concert, if that's an orchestra, if that is literally, if you just like to eat, if you just like drinking, like it's kind of like you. I would say my advice is to become a fan of whatever you want to do. So if you want to throw events, go to events. If you want to do anything in those veins, just do it. Like how many people I know that have gone to Bryce and Win events or go to Survivor watch parties with RHAP and they end up on the show. Like you kind of have you it's really hard to say don't be scared. But what I will say is if you're going to be scared in your comfortable place. And if you're scared in your comfortable place, you're doing something you love anyway, you're enjoying anyway. And don't be as results oriented, be kind of journey oriented. Oh yeah, nerd, Way of Kings, yo. Darn, I'm a nerd. Brandon Sanderson, if anybody's into the Cosmere, love sci-fi. I feel like sci-fi tells all types of crazy stories, but it's about the journey and not the destination. And it's tough for me to even think like that. But everything starts small and kind of grows. If you look at any of your favorite podcasters, any of your favorite event producers, any of your favorite anything, and you look at their first thing that they ever did, it looks nothing like the last thing that they did. No. You look at the first time Steph Curry shot a 3 versus how he shoots now, was he a better shooter at 12 or 36? He's a better shooter at 36. And think about that for yourself, knowing that whatever you do isn't going to be the best version of what you do. But whatever you do is still going to be good enough. And it will be. And that's whatever you want to decide to do. And I try to take that advice myself. My friends tell me, James, like as outgoing as you think I am, like I can find you 5 people that can literally tell you I'm losing less than 1% of my potential. I need to be doing this, this, and this, and this because they see that in me.
Wow.
And being around and try to be around people that see that in you. Because when you are around those people, they're gonna expect more from you. They're gonna push you. They're gonna nag you. They're gonna say, "Oh, I want to do this," and hopefully that gives you the confidence. It may take them 50 times I'm telling you that to give you that confidence to say, "I want to host this event at this bookstore because I like this, or I like coffee and I want to talk about records, so I want to have like a vinyl thing at this record." Like it may take time, it may take discomfort, it definitely is a risk, and you can't be expecting perfection. And it's like, and you just gotta step out and do it. Like my first event, I was afraid that people like who's going like I know people I'm cool, but who's really going to come mess with me? And I'm like, oh, shoot, like 350 RSVPs and the whole club popped out on a Friday. Yeah. I'm like, yo, I'm out here. Like, and that feeling that you get is like the anxiety that you have versus that feeling is like once you get that feeling, you keep on going because that feeling's kind of addictive. So it's just like so I just say, it's easy to say just do it, but I would say try to have people to help you and have the check marks and the boxes towards the goal of what you want to do. And then not think about the result as much as how much did you enjoy the journey and can you make this journey repeatable?
There's so much there. I love that. Like, let me just give the bell for a second. I just have to say, because it's so powerful what you said, and there's so much that jumps out to me. But one of the things that really jumps out to me as you share all of that, like your TED talk right now, like I just took it all in. My heart is full from all of it. Like it's funny because I think I'm like, okay, I look at you, James, right? I look at Bryce and just all of the ways that he's pushed and he's grinded. I look at Wendell and everything that he's doing. And it's like, one, it's amazing that even just being in the Survivor community can, and I mean, the list goes on because I could name so many other people who I'm sure are listening, people who aren't, podcasters, listeners, like reality people, all of them. It's amazing and important to be surrounded by people who, one, like inspire you, or even who you might be a little jealous of. Like, oh my God, I just saw Wendell on Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Like, why does Wendell have his show? Why am I not on Extreme Makeover Home Edition? You know what?
Wendell
It's
was a
like, I
beautiful
think like
man. Like, just,
he is. He really is.
beautiful
Yeah,
man.
no, no,
Beautiful
no.
man.
Yeah, no, it's powerful though. Like, it's good to have people who, like, who push you directly and indirectly to level up. And I also will say that, like, something that comes to mind for me with everything you're saying is I think that a lot of people overlook the fact that they already have like so much currency in the relationships that they have. Like, I'm sure some people heard everything you're saying. You're like, okay, I need to make all of these friends. I need to meet all of these people. Like, let me tell you, if you are listening to this right now, like, you at least have me. You at least have me supporting and showing up for you. Like, there are so many more people in the RHAP community, other fans, other listeners, like other people who will show up for you. But like, so often we underestimate like the people who will show up for us, and the people who care about us, or the people who like don't even know us, who will get on board with what we're doing. And so it's just, I mean, something I feel the need to say is like, yeah, like maybe you don't have, or maybe I don't have, or maybe someone listening, I should say, doesn't have that 8,000 person email list, but like, the people are there. Like, people will show up for you, but like, you're never going to find that out if you don't if you don't put yourself out there, and if you don't actually go for it. That's inspiration.
You'll
I'm
be
feeling it.
surprised at how many people really are inspired by things that you think are easy, and
Hmm.
because you're inspired by things that you think are easy by other people, like
Yeah.
we're like, and I think we suck at that. We
Yeah.
always think about the end goal, and we don't think about like what we really enjoy about doing whatever we want to do, and like
Hmm.
making that the focal point, and then after that everything else will come. I mean, like,
Mm.
if you love to do something, like, just do it. Like, it's kind of one of those things where you like, because like you never know, not before it's going to be popular, you're going to get famous, but
Hmm.
like like Rob started podcasting about Survivor, like
Yeah.
like, I mean, like, all
Look at it
right,
now,
like,
right?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure everybody was like, all right, you want to do that. Then you get like, then you like, that show still on, like, what, like,
Yeah, right.
but a community comes, like, it's so many like things, and I think now more than ever with the Facebook groups and Reddit groups,
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
literally start, like, who knew Kai Sinai? I didn't know who he was. I am
Mm.
Speed, like, now I know these
Mm.
people, like a person like, let's I'm gonna give Dwight Moore a shout out. I
Oh,
didn't know what Blood
please.
on the Clock Tower was. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know Blood on the Clock Tower. Then Dwight Moore started playing Blood on the Clock Tower and inviting us Survivor people to
Hmm.
play it. And now I know what Blood on the Clock Tower is. I have social deduction games now. Like Werewolf. I didn't know where Werewolf was. Then,
Yeah.
like Claire. Like, and it is just like, you don't know like where your passion can take you and where your passion
Hmm.
can take other people. So
Yeah.
if you have that passion, follow it and figure out whatever your niche is inside that is. And we all
Wow.
struggle with it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it looks like it's easy when we hit our stride. Like, it looked like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
you in there. But it takes a while.
Yeah, no, it takes a while, but like, look, you're on the journey. There's so much that's going on, so many twists and turns and everything else. And so I'm glad we could talk so much about the journey. But look, James, we've been here for a while. Life has to go on. We have to go back to life. But I have to ask you a question that I ask everyone here on Pod Friends. And that question is, If your life, James Jones, were a book or documentary, what would the title be and why? Wait, and before you answer that, I'm pausing.
My life was a book. What would it be? And this is an original book. Like, it's not anybody else's book. Like, if it was
No, your book.
my book. Okay.
He's thinking.
Black.
Oh, you got
Black. Oh yeah, I got it. Black hole thoughts and infinite possibilities.
Explain.
So black hole thoughts means that like I think about way too much stuff, and there's like a black hole is infinite, so it's infinite thoughts.
Yeah.
But within those infinite thoughts is boundless possibilities. And so black hole thoughts with infinite possibilities, meaning there's a black hole of thoughts that sucks that I have that go into the ether, but there's an infinite possibility what could come from those thoughts. If I ever decide to ever, execute them. But yeah, it's black hole thoughts and infinite possibilities. Because I think a lot, have a lot of crazy theories. A lot of things I thought have come to pass, like in real life. I feel like I'm very prophetic in a lot of different things. And because I consume culture at a very high rate, or I used to consume culture at a very high rate. Like I was in the podcast 20 years ago. Like I was downloading podcasts, putting them on the MP3 player and listening to them in my car when I was doing pharmaceutical sales. Like I was a person that was like, oh shoot, like I'm that person. I'm an early adopter of certain things that are community based. So yeah, black hole thoughts and infinite possibilities. Look at my professional setup, yo.
This is how mine like used to look for the most part. Hey, Matt.
Bryce, you're on Pod Friends. Look at that.
How are you? I can't really hear you.
You can't hear you. Hold on. I'm gonna take.
But your screen is
give
lagging,
him the headphones.
Though. Give him the headphones.
Look at him dragging you. Bryce,
hey,
you're on Pod Friends. Look at this.
I know.
Look at you.
Oh my God, it's such an honor.
It's an honor, Bryce, but I have to tell you something. So you texted me the question. And what the hell is he? Is that Sari? Who's that on that card? Okay, wait. So Bryce, you texted me the question, and you texted me at like 5 p.m., right? We recorded at 6. In that hour, I'll just show you. Let me just show you. James knows what it's going to be, but he doesn't know about tape play on this. Just watch. Hello, this is your baby boy, Bryce Isaiah, the purple pants badass. And I've got a question for James Jones, a.k.a. JJ.
Yo, this is
James, I want to know. We all see your love for cooking on social media, but
and then this
what's
popped
your
up, and I was just
all-time favorite dish, your absolute favorite dish to make? Please give us the ingredients in your step-by-step process.
It's like It's like your beard is like kind of light.
Love Pod Friends.
But yeah, this beard is gray. But I mean, it works. That's so funny, man. I'm dying. But
Bryce, anything do you have any words you want to say of love, of encouragement? We were talking so much about you.
I love that. Well, I love James. I think James is such an amazing person. I want to say I met James maybe like 7 years ago, and we had a really weird interaction. And I remember like afterwards.
Weird interaction. I remember the interaction.
Well, it was it was James didn't necessarily like speak, but he spoke. And then it was funny because James, being such a good ally and a good friend, I did a podcast a while ago called Won't You Be My Ally? And it featured like Wendell Holland and some of my other friends. And I really talked about like my relationship with Black men and how it's important for me to make relationships. However, but sometimes it can be a little awkward for me. And I'll never forget the next time I saw James after that podcast, he like walked right up to me. He was like in a crowded room. He was like, Bryce, I want to acknowledge, I see you, I hear you, I'm your friend. And ever since then, it's been so funny. James has come a long way. He has gone from being a not taking a photo person at an event to now
Wow.
James is in the camera. Yeah, James is a great friend to have, and he's my neighbor. Like, he literally lives 3 minutes away from me. Although where he currently lives, we had a snowstorm the other day. You would think that it's still snowing on James's street because the plows have not seen his street. So, James, we need to get our city councilman on that. But no, it's great. And, you know, of course, pods with friends, you never know who's going to pop up. And so it's such an honor to see and to hear from you.
Look at that. Look at that. This is so powerful. James, what words of wisdom, of anything, like any words that you just like, I want to give you the floor to say anything to the listeners. Just say anything to them as we wrap up this interview. Go for it.
I would just say have empathy and think of, like, with most people, and do it selfishly because you want other people to give you empathy. Like, if you want to be a bad person, like, just think about how you want to be treated on your worst day. And does it feel great to be a bad person or to be a mean person for no freaking reason? And if that fits your fancy, cool. But I just say have empathy. Treat triumph and disaster the same. An old frat saying where enjoy the good times, be grateful for the bad times, move with empathy and authenticity, and, you know, that's pretty much it. That's my TED Talk. It's over.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you, Bryce. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode of Pod Friends. Big shout out to RHAP's team behind the scenes for getting this episode out to all of you. And you all could find me on all platforms at MattScottGW. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to RHAP on Patreon, patreon.com/RHAP, and support shows like Pod Friends. And again, as mentioned, leave a voicemail, speakpipe.com/podfriends, so that you could be part of this year's season finale. Next week's episode features the one, the only, Josh Wigler, and a very powerful conversation that we had that I can't wait for you to hear. It's real, it's raw, and it's one reason why I'm so thankful for what Pod Friends is. And so, hope you're subscribed to the podcast. Hope you leave the 5 stars. Hope you leave a review. And as always, last but not least, thank you for being a Pod Friend. Bye, everybody.